Local Activism, Social Justice, and Equity, presented by
Vera Tassin
and Kaya Faraj of Ignite. A brief history. Well, as a result of redlining during the Jim Crow era, Charlotte has been historically segregated, temporarily integrated, and is now more segregated than it ever was. So we see here on this map I've provided, there's a large Black population here on the left, that's all the green on that side, outside of a certain area, whereas on the right, where you see the green as the white population, it's concentrated in one area. And then all of the surrounding areas, kind of like the shape of a Pac-Man or a pie, is where all of the Black people and minorities seem to live outside of that area. If you go back to the left, it's almost like there's nothing there when it says Black population, which is very interesting. So if we had all of this stuff with segregation, why is it still like this? And I'm going to be using this documentary to share with you why.
What Puckett is referring to is the school integration of the 70s. After a Supreme Court ruling, the city developed a busing system that took students from different neighborhoods and brought them to mixed schools of all races and economic backgrounds. For 30 years, CMS was a national symbol for integration, but not everyone liked it. After one swift lawsuit from an unhappy white family, busing was overturned in 1999 with the help of Puckett, who was on the Board of Education at the time. Since then, wealthy families have largely abandoned Charlotte public schools, where now only 27% of students are white.
27%. So that was the reintegration that ultimately failed and left us with what we have now.
What Puckett is referring to is the school integration of the 70s.
Sorry. So continuing with what we have now.
Property values align with wealth of a family, and if predominantly Black areas lack wealth. Decades later, we still cannot move to better areas. Out of the top 50 populated cities, Charlotte is dead last in terms of economic mobility, not very equitable at all. So what have we been left with?
Well, what we've been left with is situations like this. Here we have a man you see confronting police here in Charlotte on the right, but also him as an elected councilman on the left. And this man is Braxton Winston, who once was a protesting citizen, much like some of us might have been last summer, but now he sits on the city council and is now a part of a very large African-American presence in local government. As you see here, we've got Vi Lyles, our mayor, and many others of our elected officials. So although this representation is an accomplishment, the effectiveness of their presence has been questioned. For example, the killing of Dan Chris Franklin by a CMPD officer being ruled unlawful by a review committee under a Black police chief says a lot about the atmosphere of the city right now. A lot of this progress has been questioned how successful it's actually been. So I'll have one more clip for you guys about this.
It's because most people, the first thing they want to know is what? Schools. Yeah. And so if I'm coming here and I have the means, I'm going to ask where the best schools are. I would imagine they're here in the wedge, right?
In the wedge, yes.
So that continues to perpetuate the problem that you're talking about.
So we've been working with Charlotte Mecklenburg schools to determine what's their out-year projection. Are we going to get it perfectly right? I don't think so, but we can influence it.
Influence. So a lot of the older people we see here are influencing it through politics, through government, but we're not quite there yet. We're in school, we are not all voters yet, of course. So what can we do as students ourselves? So there are 5 habits we can do to stay aware and informed, and that is knowing our history. just like the brief history I showed you about Charlotte in general, any issues that you're passionate about, do some studying on how it's been addressed in the past, what leaders have arisen with that movement, and kind of study how they did their leadership and how you can learn from it.
The next step is to bring attention to injustices you see, reach out to others about them, and ask others how you can help. So I don't know, maybe you see something going wrong and you're not sure if other people know about it. So it's important to reach out to others, whether it's a family member or a friend, close friend. You should reach out and like tell them about them and make sure that it's getting the attention it deserves.
And aside from things on the ground, if you did like that political view, a political approach to staying aware, you can use sites like govtrack.us to get alerts and check up on federal bills being voted on by your representatives, and you'll be able to actually find and contact them through email or phone that way. And there are many websites that do that for specific issues, specific areas like Charlotte or just North Carolina in general.
The next step is to start small. I know it can be very intimidating or overwhelming to be trying to do something that other people are doing in terms of activism, but I think that it's very important to start small, to know what you're comfortable with and know what you're uncomfortable with as well. Whether it's just researching, talking to other people, stuff like that can be very helpful.
And last but not least, if you are overwhelmed, take a break. Don't be afraid to take a break from the news or your cause that you've been dedicating a lot of time to. Just a personal time to yourself to get away from it all, because I know this past summer, a lot of people were getting overwhelmed by information and just negative feelings. And so it's really important to take care of your mental psyche when it comes to these things that are so harmful, so you will be able to heal and come back to them stronger and better. So how can you get involved today?
So there are very many different activist groups in and around the Charlotte area dedicated to advocating for change. And some of these include the Valentine Youth Activists, Sunrise Movement Charlotte, Charlotte Uprising, Kids Fed Up, XR Youth Charlotte, and NAACP Charlotte Mecklenburg. I know personally I joined Valentine Youth Activists over the summer, and I got to meet a lot of new people, and a lot of those people that are involved in it actually go to AK, which was very helpful, and I liked it because I got to learn and experience new things. So I definitely recommend joining an activist group as somewhere to start.
So I hope that you've learned everything that you can from this presentation, because it's more than just that. It's building the first stone to getting ourselves out of 2020 in 2021. And it's really important that we made this and we share it with you all. And we thank you for being our audience. And if you want to know what documentary that was Black South Rising, specifically about Charlotte by Vice. It's a very good documentary if you would like to watch the whole thing. So thank you so much for being here.